What's up, YouTube? It's the Spooky Screen. We're back with another banger, the 2001 movie Pulse. I know it's all on your mind. 22 years old and still fresh, still relevant to today. So let's get into it.
Dial-up internet.
If you were like us growing up with AOL, you know that technology scares people. And this movie is about the way that technology allows for phantom interdimensional ghost travel, and we love it. So we're going to review it today. I think that's what it was about. I'm hoping my co-host can tell me about it. Before we get into an actual little summary of the story, I want to introduce my co-hosts, Nick, Dave, Steven, and Noah. Wave your hand, clap, bow. These guys are really the heart of the show, and I'm just here to facilitate their genius into YouTube. So, this movie, Pulse, Magnolia Films, 2001, is a Japanese horror film, and it is centered around a series of individuals who are not connected at the beginning. I will not do them the dishonor of pronouncing their names because I've struggled with it at practice. I can't get it right. But what we do know is that they stumble upon some type of software computer glitch. Something's happening in the internet, and there is some type of ghost or phantom coming into this world and causing people to change, die, disappear. And as the story goes on, we realize that this is just getting worse and spreading more rapidly, and realize that this whole film is a reflection on the human condition. Is that a fair synopsis?
My understanding was that the internet
That was my
released
understanding.
The ghosts. I don't think they unlocked the ghosts. I think the internet itself, the invention of it, allowed ghosts to enter our dimension.
I think it was.
Is anyone else?
It was a medium,
about, like connectivity, or
it was a medium. I think what it was is that just like how there's digital memory limits, the interdimensional world that absorbs the souls of the dead was full, and the internet created a medium for them to start taking over our world.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was saying.
Yeah, it's like heaven's hard drive was full. So
I don't think it was heaven. I don't think it was hell. But okay, hell's hard drive was full.
I was trying to give a different analogy.
I do want to hear what you guys each thought about it before we get to, because I feel like the opinions brewing. People want to talk about it. So why don't we all do a thumbs up or thumbs down on the movie? See where we're at. See what the vote is. All right. On the count of three, I want you to throw up a thumb up or a thumb down. Thumbs up means you like it. Thumbs down means you don't. That's kind of obvious. All right. 1, 2, 3. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to have to switch my vote because I can't be on the same team as Steven.
Enemies must become allies.
Yes. Podcast.
All right, well,
together.
Why don't we start with Steven? Steven, why did you like the movie?
I think, I can understand why Nick, Dave, and Noah wouldn't like it because I think it's a little too long and overstates its welcome. And I think that it meanders at times. That's actually one of the ghosts that's transferring its way into David's apartment.
David didn't put the red tape up.
So I get it. I can understand why people would dislike it, but I actually thought that the slow burn, it adds to the theme of the movie, which is about isolation. And I think that I just thought it was a really well-made film. I thought the shots were really interesting. The scene locations were the set pieces. And I thought that the message was also pretty relevant in this day and age. It's a bit vague about its critiques around technology and the internet, but it was so early on when the internet had just kind of come into the scene that there wasn't anything really specific to critique other than the prospect of people using it as an excuse to further alienate themselves and feel like they're connecting with people over the internet when they're really not. And I thought that was a pretty meaningful idea early on in the era of the internet. Yeah, so that's why I liked it.
Thanks for that resounding review. Really convince everyone why it's so likable.
I didn't say my thumbs up was like a two thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm feeling the pressure to save this movie right now. Nick, tell me what you thought and why you dislike this movie, and be succinct. Don't be like the movie.
This movie, to me, it wasn't even about length. To me, it was just too dry. The concept was very interesting, but it just wasn't executed well. About like 30 minutes in, I was already getting sleepy, and it was like mid-noon. Like I was so willing to give up on this movie at like the hour and a half mark, and I had like I think 23 minutes left, and I was just so ready to just say forget it. I don't even want to see how it ends. But it wasn't until like the last 15, 20 minutes that it gets halfway decent. It's just too dry, not enough going on. The two different storylines converging together aren't executed well because they really just it's just kind of like two stories chopped up and just forced to try to work together until they come together at the end, and it just doesn't work for me.
Did not work for you. Okay, Dave, do you have anything to add to that, or are you on the same train as Nick? No.
Yeah, I'm on the same train as Nick, where it's an interesting concept, like kind of what we just touched on, but it was just too long, too drawn out. I feel like for the type of story it was telling, it needed to go faster, and I really didn't care for them opening up with the ending with the characters on the boat, and all I kept myself thinking was like, how are they getting on the boat? How are they getting on the boat? Like, why did they show them on a boat? I don't know what's going on. Why are they on a boat? No one's around.
Say something else about the boat.
I just, by the time they got on the boat, I didn't care about it anymore, and I just wanted the movie to be done. And it wasn't scary. I was looking to be spooked out.
I am a co-host with a bunch of heathens. Okay, no. I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna make a like sandwich. So I'm the other bread.
Sandwich. Okay.
I gotta hear all my arguments that I have to. You know.
I gave the equivalent of an end piece of the loaf of bread.
You
Yeah,
could be a
same
moldy
as,
piece of bread because the end piece is good. Don't act like the end piece is bad.
The end piece is not good. Everyone
The end
agrees
piece
that-
It's objectively not good.
The
Yeah.
end piece is amazing. You specifically put peanut butter
Nope,
on the
where's the
end
mute?
piece when you
Put the mute on.
We need a ghost to come and transfer Nick into the internet dimension.
All right, Noah. I want to hear more about what your opinion is and less about Nick's crust obsession.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
episode is brought to you by Crustables.
Crustables.
Uncrustables.
Actually, on that note, if you haven't liked this video already, like this video, subscribe, throw a comment down about your favorite type of bread piece and or slice.
So I really wanted to like this movie, but it made it really hard because it was a half hour too long, in my opinion. I think if they just cut out a lot of the walking around and staring at stuff, they probably would have got 30 minutes to cut there. There was a lot of pontifications on human loneliness, and I kind of got the gist from the first monologue. I didn't need 10 more after that. The ghost parts were really cool, and some of the special effects were really neat, especially thinking that this is 2001. Like that person jumping off the oil tower or factory tower looked real. Like I was like, did they actually just kill someone? Because it looked that real. Beautifully edited.
Fun
But-
fact, they did. It's
Okay.
legal in Japan. I'm not kidding. Look it up. You
Okay.
can film a suicide.
The idea of it's really interesting. The ghost parts were cool, but I just think it was
So you
kind
liked
of
it. That's
high.
great.
No, it was just kind of high on its own supply. Like it was just like someone that just kept talking in circles about the same problems with humanity, and you kind of get at first you're like, oh yeah, man, that's deep, but then by the 2 hour mark, you're like, oh man, can you shut up about human loneliness? We get it.
So Noah, you liked it overall. I got that.
I was
Best
bored.
movie of 2001.
Okay, well, let me wrap us up here because I was the other like, and I got a soft like and some pretty hard dislikes. Even though we're draped in like, I think the major element we can all agree on is this movie is probably too long for entertainment purposes. As a study of cinema and an exploration, you can appreciate a lot of what it's doing. I think the concepts of it, I liked a lot. I really liked the interdimensional kind of idea of death and like a real thought about what is happening in the entirety of existence. I also didn't like the length. I thought it was like I got an hour in and I was like, there is no way this can go for another hour, and it did it somehow.
It did.
I don't know how it did it, but it did it.
Pulled it off.
It really pulled it off. I think the kind of confusion was like really relatable. Like these characters are like both confused and allured by these hauntings, and I just found something really like interesting and touching about it. And like there was this like intimacy of friends, but you felt palpably alone the whole time, and I think that was kind of special. I didn't like the apocalyptic ending. I felt like just the world ended kind of, and like just felt very anticlimactic of an ending. But again, I don't think it was about the plot. I think it was about the concept, and it was a very conceptual movie, and I like those. I like sci-fi, so it kind of got me. But I definitely could have done that without less. Like a 30-minute segment cut out somewhere would have been fine with me.
It's funny you say that because I liked that part of the movie actually, and I kind of liked how the movie depicted its like slow but inevitable descent into chaos. But it wasn't even like a loud chaos; it was quiet, right? Like they were just driving around the city.
Mm-hmm.
A plane crashed and exploded, but I don't know. There was something about that. I wish, and Noah had said that if it was 90 minutes, that it would have been the perfect length. I agree with that. I just think that if they had kept that last part with the descent into the apocalypse, I think it would have been a really strong movie.
I get your point. I don't know. It was engaging to me in a lot of ways, and I really like the ghost ideas. I thought it was like horrifying without being grotesque, and I find that stuff really interesting.
To me, I was more annoyed because I felt like the horror couldn't stick to one concept, because like in the beginning they showed the lady like in the in the room when the one character was like he went into the forbidden room, and the one character like the ghost lady like walked toward him and like climbed over the desk, and I was like, all right, maybe that's some. Yeah, I was like, maybe that's something I can get behind. And then they reel it back extremely hard, like really reel it back. But then there's that random scene in the library where that really random character we never see again is like, hey, I can see ghosts. You can see them too. And then he's like, go chase that ghost. You might be able to catch him. And then like that randomly happens, and then we never see another ghost again. Like, what was that even about? What was it even necessary? Like, I feel like it
Just
couldn't
because
choose.
you don't understand it, Nick, doesn't mean it's bad.
Was I the only one laughing when they turned into dust? They're like,
Well, that's the other thing I think that I have to critique the film for is that it couldn't.
Are you on my side or what?
I am on your side. I ultimately liked the movie. I thought it was well made.
Don't lie to him.
I'm not lying. I thought it was a well made film, and I thought
I was okay with them being spirited away. That I thought was an artistic choice to make for death. Like,
no, but then
that is the one thing I'm okay with actually.
What you see is that the dark spots on the wall suddenly can crumble into dust and swirl about in the room. And
yes,
I get it. Like
that was dumb. I agree.
Let him finish.
Yeah, let me finish. And then the very last scene where she enters the factory to get the key to the boat, you have skeletons like bowing in front of the walls, and they're like fully just like husked out bodies of skeletons. And so they haven't been absorbed into the wall as like black stains. They're now like, they're like wasted remains. And I'm just like, there seems to be a lot of ideas about like how people can fade in this new apocalypse. And I just thought there was a lot of ideas, a bit of inconsistency, and not like you want like a film like that to have like a good solid backbone in terms of its mythology, right? Like, and I thought it was a bit inconsistent.
I was also very annoyed with how that character was just like, stay here, I'll be right back. And then the girl just kept running away. Like, you should have just known better. You should have. She was for the streets. Yeah. You should have just let her run away. Like,
for the streets.
He was honestly like his intellect was so like so lacking. It really brought me out of the movie. Every time he was just like,
They're
"Stay
young.
here, I'll be back." He was like 22, 23. Like,
Yeah,
come
how
on.
stupid were you when you were 20, 22?
If somebody ran away from me, I wasn't gonna chase after them in a train graveyard.
That's
I mean,
debatable, Nick.
yeah,
you didn't
you-
make a lot of good choices.
Especially
You can't know that, Nick. You can't know
Yeah,
that.
I
Very
don't,
judgy
I
there,
never,
Nick.
I never like the criticism of like films where it's like, I'm smarter than that character. I would never, like, it just doesn't work.
It's not
Like,
even about being smart. It's just how many times is he going to be duped into something like that? Because he did that at least 4 times in the movie. After the second time somebody runs away from me, I'm gonna stop chasing them.
Nick, you're so passionately
I
angry about this movie.
It was so.
Okay.
I'm sorry. It was so bad. This movie was just
Oh,
It was
Nick,
okay.
it
Hold on.
wasn't so bad.
It wasn't so bad.
It wasn't bad.
It was
Yeah.
hard to
Honestly-
watch. This is a difficult movie. I'll say that. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's a difficult movie.
I don't think it's a
hard
good
for people to
movie.
watch.
I'm very surprised you guys, well, you and Steven specifically, or even Noah, because
Nick,
David and I sound like we're in the same.
do
boat.
I really surprise you? Like with, I
This
like
is
some
not-
weird stuff.
This is not a film. And this goes counterintuitive to what I say a lot. This is not a film for entertainment, and I can acknowledge that. Like, this is not the movie you put on. This is like
He's
a
coming
heady,
the long way.
heady film. You know, it is heady.
Johnny's like the heel turn in like a
I know,
WWE
it's
tournament.
amazing. He makes me so proud. Someone said something about starting on the boat, and I completely agree with that criticism. I think it was you, David.
Yep.
I just wish they didn't start there because there was nothing added.
They gave away the ending before they even started. Like, she's like talking about loneliness and like, how did I get here?
If you typically want to do that, right? Like you want to set up a really strong hook to have something to look forward to throughout the entire film. But I don't think it ended up achieving that even.
What I will say, the
Okay.
deepest horror of this film, and I will give it credit for
You
this.
better not say human loneliness. I swear, the movie told me that enough. I don't want to hear it anymore.
What
I
I
dare
like
you not to say loneliness.
think about so many American horror films. There's some, it's either highly redemptive and they like defeat the bad serial killer, or it's like grotesquely, tragic, and this was a slow burn into the reality, if you accept it, of human loneliness in this condition of
Oh
like,
my god!
if you die, like there's this like general comfort of existing beyond, and like this was like the whole world falling apart, realizing they just seep into the worst loneliness they could have ever imagined. We are so lonely that we're craving deeply, deeply connection in the next life. And so when they start finding a medium into this world, they're drawn to that life, but in connecting with that life, they kill it, or they end it, or they absorb it so that they can take on existence. And so it's this consuming quality of loneliness to destroy connection. That's the metaphor. Like when someone's desperate for connection and they end up not having connection.
Yeah, they're
it's
too
that.
desperate. They're too desperate, so it comes off
exactly.
needy and stuff. The ghosts were too needy.
Exactly. Those are
Ghosts were
needy
try-hard.
ex.
It's more of an exploration than an explanation.
Yes.
Right? It's not giving you the answers of life. It's telling you that life sucks.
Because it was too early on in the internet era, right? You couldn't formulate like actual criticisms about it because it was an early technology, right? So
Yeah.
It is kind of cool to see that, like, to watch a movie, to see how advanced like technology and the internet is now in the last 22 years, to watch something that's 22 years old, that they're exploring this new technology, and like, does it have some sort of like beyond capabilities that we don't even understand?
The sub message to it all, sorry, Stephen. The sub message was though that the internet itself was not going to bring connection. It was going to bring more loneliness.
and
right.
I think that
that's kinda
topic,
true.
Johnny, that's exactly like to have that as one of the messages of the film was very prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy how prophetic it was.
Do you think that using, I guess, very early internet as a theme, as something that that the movie uses as a conduit to tell the story, do you think that dates the movie in any way, or?
I kind of like it. I liked
No.
hearing the old dial-up internet. It felt very otherworldly almost.
I think the internet is substantial enough of an invention in human history that it can't. It's like saying the Roman Empire makes a movie dated. It's just too big. Like the internet is too profound for it to be a dated quality. You know what
Well,
I mean?
I say that in
It'll
the
always
sense
be
of-
relevant. I think.
I say
think
that
it'll
in the
always be
sense of,
highly
like,
relevant.
because we watched that one movie, the one horror movie where the girls were all on Zoom, and that would eventually date itself because at some point people aren't going to
Yeah.
use Zoom anymore.
I
That might
think
be
if the
fair.
ghosts started dabbing, then I think it would have been. Now that we've talked about it, I really feel like this might be the bleakest movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, upon thinking and pondering about it, like
Yeah.
human loneliness in life, and then when you die, you experience even more of a loneliness.
This is not nearly as bleak as like one of those. What was that really twisted movie I didn't want to watch? Like the skinning movie,
Terrifier 2?
Terrifier 2. Like, how is that not more bleak?
Because you could say there's hope that they defeat the Terrifier, or you could say that after these people that he all killed, they're in heaven now. Like, whereas in this movie, they're literally saying heaven does exist, and
So
your
are you
afterlife
saying-
sucks.
So you're saying
worse
this is the
than
ultimate
anything.
horror movie?
I'm saying it might be the ultimate horror movie. I feel horrified after talking about it.
There you go.
Which means he likes it.
I still
loves
think
it.
it's 30 minutes too long, but I will lean more in the light camp now after we talk about it. So
You're like this, and I'm like,
I'll give it like a 90 degrees maybe.
I really appreciate this discussion overall. I
This
think
was more of our
this was-
deeper.
This was a great, that's why I like this movie, because there was a lot of material here to engage with. I will say, you know me, I like weird heady stuff. So like,
Yeah, this was right up
Interstellar
your alley.
Annihilation. This is my kind of movie. So
Yeah,
this
if
is
you're
number-
putting those two on a list, they belong right next to each other, hand in hand. It's Annihilation and this movie for sure.
Thanks for joining us for our discussion of The Pulse. Pulse by Magnolia Films, a 2001 hit about the internet. Catch us next time when we watch...
Okay. Bye.